Fear is often misunderstood. Most people think of fear as a red light, a signal to stop, to retreat, to reconsider. But what if we've been looking at it the wrong way? What if fear isn't a sign of danger, but a signal that something matters deeply to us? Think about it. We don't get nervous before things that are meaningless. We don't overthink things that carry no weight. We feel fear when something touches on our values, our ambitions, or our identity. That presentation that makes your palms sweat, it's not just a presentation. It's your credibility, your growth, your voice being put out into the world. That leap into a new job, a new city, a new life. You're not afraid of the change itself. You're afraid of what it means and what's at stake if it goes wrong. Fear, in its purest form, is not the enemy, it's information. It tells us that we're entering a space that has the potential to change us. And often, it's in those very spaces, where the fear is loudest, that our greatest opportunities live. We fear rejection because we value belonging. We fear failure because we value achievement. We fear uncertainty because we crave control. But none of those things mean we should stop. On the contrary, they reveal just how important the next step really is. When fear shows up, it's not asking us to run away, it's inviting us to lean in. It's telling us, hey, this could actually matter. And if it matters, isn't that exactly where we're supposed to be? Fear is not always a wall. Sometimes it's a doorway, and recognizing that difference can completely shift how we move through the challenges ahead. The unknown is often seen as a place of risk, discomfort, and unpredictability. It's where we hesitate, overanalyze, and sometimes freeze. But if we really pause and reflect, we realize that the most transformative moments of our lives, the ones that shaped us, challenged us, and revealed who we are, came from the unknown. They came from the moments we didn't plan, the decisions we weren't completely sure about, the times we stepped into something new without a full map. We tend to crave certainty because it gives us the illusion of control. But growth doesn't live in certainty. Growth lives in motion, in adaptation, in surprise. When we stay in familiar routines, surrounded by predictable outcomes, we may feel safe, but we also become stagnant. The unknown shakes that up. It wakes us. It forces us to look deeper, think faster, stretch further. Every relationship that mattered to you started with uncertainty. Every opportunity that made you stronger began with a question mark. Every time you discovered you were more capable than you believed, it happened because something didn't go according to plan. The unknown is not the enemy. It's the origin of transformation. It's the space where we let go of what we think we know and become open to who we might become. And yes, the unknown can bring failure, but failure is not the opposite of growth. It's often the beginning of it. The lessons that stick, the moments that humble us, the challenges that build character, they don't show up when things are easy and clear. They emerge when we step into territory we haven't mastered yet. That's where resilience is built. That's where confidence is earned. That's where we find out what we're made of, not by staying comfortable, but by choosing to explore what lies beyond it. Progress doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It doesn't wait for perfect timing or full clarity. It asks for movement. It asks for trust. And more often than not, it requires us to act without knowing exactly how things will turn out. We're taught to plan, to prepare, to minimize risk. And while those things have value, they can also become traps. The pursuit of certainty can become a form of procrastination. We wait for the fear to disappear before we move, but fear doesn't vanish. It just changes shape as we grow. There's a difference between safety and progress. Safety keeps us rooted in what we already know. Progress invites us to trade what's familiar for what's possible, and that trade always involves some level of uncertainty. It means choosing to step forward even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. It means taking the leap before the path is fully visible. Every step towards something new comes with questions. What if I'm not ready? What if I fail? What if I'm judged? But those questions aren't roadblocks. They're signs that you're doing something meaningful. The people who grow the most are not the ones who always have a plan. They're the ones who are willing to act, to adapt, and to learn as they go. They don't wait for confidence. They build it through action. Every skill starts as a risk. Every achievement begins with uncertainty. And every leap forward requires you to leave something behind, even if it's just your comfort zone. You don't need to know everything before you begin. You just need the willingness to take the next step, and then the next. Progress rewards motion, not perfection. It's built not by knowing exactly where you're going, but by daring to go at all. We often tell ourselves we'll start when we're ready, when we have all the answers, when the timing is right, when the fear is gone. But that moment rarely comes. What we're really waiting for is certainty, and the truth is, certainty isn't what drives meaningful action. Purpose is. It's the reason behind the step, not the clarity of the path, that gives us the strength to move. Purpose doesn't eliminate the unknown, but it makes the unknown worth facing. It doesn't provide a detailed roadmap, but it gives direction. When you know why you're doing something, you stop needing everything to be perfect. You stop needing every step to be calculated. You begin to move with intention, even if the way forward is unclear. That's the power of purpose. It lights a fire that burns through hesitation. People often think confidence comes from knowing the outcome, but real confidence comes from knowing your reason. If you're driven by something that matters to you, something bigger than fear or doubt, you'll find a way. You won't be paralyzed by obstacles. You'll be fueled by your mission. The fog may still be there, but you'll walk through it anyway, because the goal on the other side matters more than the discomfort in front of you. Clarity doesn't always come first. Action does, and purpose is what pushes that action into motion. When your heart is aligned with your actions, when your efforts are rooted in something real and meaningful, the lack of certainty becomes less important. The journey becomes less about control and more about contribution. It stops being about getting everything right and starts being about doing what's right, guided not by perfect conditions, but by a deep commitment to what you believe in. We often wait for permission. Permission from others to take a risk, to try something new, to step into a new version of ourselves. But the truth is, meaningful change rarely asks for approval. It doesn't knock politely, it pushes. It disrupts, and in that disruption, we're forced to make a choice. Do we cling to what we know, or do we lean into what could be? Change doesn't come with guarantees. It doesn't come with a manual or a safety net. That's why it demands courage, not blind bravery, but quiet, grounded courage, the kind that says, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm willing to try anyway. The kind that shows up not when everything feels certain, but when everything feels necessary. Because sometimes the moment we've been waiting for isn't waiting for us. It's already here, disguised as discomfort, wrapped in unfamiliarity. We think of courage as loud, heroic, bold, but often it's much quieter than that. It's the voice that says go when everything else says wait. It's the decision to show up again and again, even when progress feels invisible. It's doing what you believe in, even when it's misunderstood. It's trusting yourself even when others don't see the vision yet. Permission is often a story we create in our minds, an invisible barrier built out of fear. But the reality is, the only permission you need is your own. The only validation that matters is the one that comes from knowing you're doing something that aligns with who you are and what you value. Change won't wait for you to feel ready. It won't pause until you feel comfortable. It will keep knocking, and eventually it's up to you to decide whether you answer with hesitation or with courage. What's next is not a threat, it's an invitation, an open door, not a locked one. Yet so many of us approach the future with resistance, with hesitation, with a protective mindset instead of a creative one. We brace ourselves as if what's ahead is something to survive rather than something to embrace. But that mindset limits us. It narrows our vision. It makes us reactive instead of intentional. When we start to see what's next as an opportunity, something shifts. We begin to approach life with curiosity instead of fear. We become more willing to try, to ask, to explore. That doesn't mean we eliminate uncertainty. It means we stop letting it define our response. What's next is unknown, yes, but it's also where new ideas, new people, new experiences live. And most importantly, it's where new versions of us live. Versions that can only emerge through motion and choice. People don't find clarity by standing still. They find it by moving forward, even imperfectly. Each step reveals something. Each turn uncovers a lesson. Each experience shapes the lens through which we see the world. But none of that happens if we keep waiting for a future that feels safe. The future isn't supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel possible. It's supposed to stretch us, to test us, to call us towards something more. It's not about knowing exactly where the road leads. It's about trusting that where you are is not where you have to stay. And it's about recognizing that next doesn't always mean different. It means deeper, better, fuller. The next chapter might not be easy, but it might be exactly what you need. Not because it offers comfort, but because it offers the chance to become someone stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your purpose.